Rome, a name that still makes history tremble today. But among all the wonders born from the heart of the most powerful empire that ever existed, only one remains as an eternal symbol, a structure so imposing, so perfect, which seems impossible even today. However, it was built almost 2,000 years ago. No machines, no reinforced concrete, no technology. Only through the force of ingenuity, hands, and imperial power. The Colosseum, a colossus of stone, designed not only to surprise, but to dominate the crowds, to demonstrate the supremacy of Rome, to carve the emperor's glory in rock. But behind this architectural perfection, it's a story of ambition, sweat, blood, and spectacle. On this journey, we will discover how the Romans managed to build one of humanity's most extraordinary wonders. Because it was built, what happened inside, amid sand, fire, and iron, and how it withstood almost 20 centuries of wars, earthquakes, and destruction. Get ready, because this is not just the story of a building, the story of a stone dream made eternal. The history of the Colosseum doesn't begin with the stone. It all begins with fire, the one who destroyed Rome in 64 AD, during the reign of Nero. A devastating fire reduced much of the city to ashes, and suspicion fell on the emperor himself. It was said that he himself had assembled it to make room for his grand plans. And indeed, upon those ruins, he built a magnificent palace, the Domus Aurea, a sumptuous palace with artificial lakes, private forests, and gilded statues, an insult to the people who lived in poverty. But after Nero's death, everything changed. A new emperor came to power, Vespasian, the founder of the Flavian dynasty. He wanted to break with the past, to erase the memory of the tyrant and regain the favor of the people. So he made the most symbolic decision possible. Where Nero's private lake had once been, he ordered everything drained and, in its place, commanded that a public amphitheater be built, a place for the people, accessible to all, a monument to the power of Rome. Yes, but also to his generosity. That project wasn't just about architecture. It was propaganda. It was a promise. The message was clear. Where once there was a luxury of one man, now will arise the pleasure of 70,000 citizens. The Colosseum wasn't built just to amaze. It was created to legitimize an emperor, to unite a people and demonstrate that Rome was eternal. It was the year 72 AD. Rome was buzzing with rumors and excitement. Under Vespasian's orders, construction began on a work that no one had ever done before. I dare to imagine such a large amphitheater, which seems like a dream, or madness. First, all the artificial lake at Domus Aurea was drained. Then we started digging the foundations several meters deep. Roman engineers were well aware of the stability of travertine, the light stone of Tivoli. Enormous blocks, precisely square, were transported to Rome in carts pulled by oxen and then hoisted up with manually operated wooden cranes. We worked day and night. Laborers, slaves, architects, blacksmiths, stonemasons, thousands of men united on a colossal construction site. The scaffolding rose toward the sky, supported by beams and ropes. The sounds of hammers, saws, and voices filled the air. But the true strength of the Colosseum wasn't just in its materials. He was a genius of Roman engineering. The structure was composed of arches and vaults, arranged in such a way as to distribute the weights with perfect balance. Each arch supported the next in a modular system that made the building durable yet quick to build, a marvel of efficiency and solidity. The exterior was made of travertine, fastened with iron clamps, while the interior parts used tuff and bricks, a mixture designed to combine lightness, endurance, and speed. In just 8 years under Tito's command, Vespasian's son, the work was completed. Nobody believed that such a building could have been constructed in such a short time. But Rome didn't build only with its own hands. He built it with willpower. And when in 80 AD it was finally inaugurated, the Colosseum was ready to host the greatest show on earth. As soon as the spectator passed through one of the 80 entrance arches, he was faced with something never seen before, an immense structure capable of to accommodate up to 70,000 people, arranged in tiers according to social class. The more important you were, the closer you got to the arena. The poorer you were, the farther you got. But any Roman citizens could enter. It was free, offered by the emperor. In the center, the arena, a huge elliptical wooden platform covered in wood, made of sand, designed to absorb blood, surrounded by a protective wall. And beneath the hypogeum, a labyrinth of corridors, rooms, cages, and elevating platforms that made the Colosseum a spectacle. Using manual elevators and retractable trapdoors, wild animals, gladiators, prisoners, and even moving sets were made to appear. It was a theater of death, but with a leadership worthy of an empire. It began in the morning, with the Venetians, the hunts. Tigers, lions, bears, elephants, panthers, and exotic animals never before seen in Europe were killed to amaze the crowds. Then came the public executions. The condemned faced wild beasts, or they were portrayed as characters from tragic myths, only to die screaming. Finally, the most anticipated protagonists, the gladiators, trained men, usually slaves or prisoners. Warfare, but also volunteers seeking glory. They faced each other according to precise rules, with spectacular armor and choreographed, yet realistic duels. The crowd decided. The emperor decreed. Affirmative. Thumbs down. And on special occasions, the entire arena was flooded, transforming it into a basin for veritable naval battles. The Naumachii, ships were built and wars were simulated. All this under the astonished gaze of thousands of spectators. It wasn't just entertainment. It was control. Giving bread and circuses to the people meant keeping them calm, united, and dependent on the emperor. In the Colosseum, Rome showed its fiercest face and its most theatrical heart. At first glance, the Colosseum impresses with its grandeur, but when you look closely, you can truly appreciate the genius of Roman engineering. The building measures approximately 189 meters in length and 156 meters in width. The original height was almost 50 meters, the equivalent of a modern building with nearly 17 floors. It was the largest amphitheater ever built in. The Roman Empire remains the largest empire ever built in history. The exterior is constructed in 4 superimposed levels, decorated with arches and columns in the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian styles. But the real marvel was hidden inside. The Colosseum was designed to function like a modern stadium, fluid, safe, efficient. 70,000 spectators could enter and exit in a few minutes, thanks to an incredible system. Vomiting chambers, radial passageways, and staircases that channeled the human flow in an orderly fashion. Each section had its own numbered entrance, engraved in stone, just like in stadiums today. The cavea, that is, the steps, was divided into rigidly defined social sectors. Below, near the arena, sat senators, consuls, and nobles. A little higher up, Roman knights and citizens. At the top, women, freed slaves, and plebeians, each class in its place. Even in blood, above the highest level, a ring of pillars and the beam supported the velarium, a gigantic awning operated by sailors from the imperial fleet. She protected part of the audience from the scorching sun, transforming the arena into a true shaded theater. And then there were the details. Internal passages, water cisterns, warehouses, seats reserved for religious authorities, even with performance halls. The Colosseum was not just a place of entertainment. It was a perfect machine where every stone had a function, every space was designed to surprise and endure. Behind every stone of the Colosseum, there's surprising detail, because this wasn't just an amphitheater. It was a concentration of innovation, symbolism, and secrets. And then there were the smells, the sounds, the atmosphere. The Romans used perfumes and incense to mask the smell of blood. Musicians, flautists, and trumpeters accompanied the featured performers. Every detail was carefully considered to awaken the senses and keep the tension high. And finally, the legend. They say the name. The name Colosseum does not derive from the building itself, but from a nearby colossal statue, the Colossus of Nero, over 30 meters tall. Although the statue has disappeared, the name remains, and with it, the enduring fascination of a place where reality surpassed all imagination. But even giants are not eternal. With the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Colosseum also began to slowly disappear. By the 5th century, the great games had ceased. The last gladiatorial battles took place under Emperor Honorius, then silence. The costs were too high. Times have changed. Christianity was becoming the dominant religion and was beginning to face. These bloody pastimes were met with disgust. The Colosseum had lost its original purpose, and it begins to transform. During the Middle Ages, it was used as a fortress, later as shelter for the homeless, and even as a quarry. Travertine, columns, and metals were used to build churches, palaces, and even St. Peter's Basilica. The earthquakes of 1349 and subsequent years caused entire sections of the building to collapse. The ruins were swallowed up by vegetation. In the 16th century, rare plants grew inside the Colosseum, so much so that it became a place for botanical studies. But he never died. In the 18th century, popes began to see it as a symbol of Christian martyrdom. Stations of the cross were built, a cross was erected, and its use as a quarry was prohibited. Let the conservation begin. In the 19th century, with the Risorgimento, the Colosseum became not only a religious symbol, but also a national one, a monument of identity for the Italy that was being born. Restorations, studies, safety measures. Stone by stone it was saved. Today, the Colosseum is among the most visited places in the world. Millions of people pass through it every year. They photograph it, they study it, and, without realizing it, they breathe the same air that once smelled of dust, iron, crowds, and power. The Colosseum survived wars, earthquakes, looting, and the passage of time, all at the same time. Not because it's made of stone, but because it's made of history. The Colosseum is not just a monument. It's a silent witness to everything. What Rome was, a theater of glory, and cruelty, ingenuity, and domination. Each stone tells a story. Each arch is a distant echo of voices, of applause, of shouts. Born to impress. Survived to remember. Today we look at it from the outside, with respect and admiration. But inside, if you listen carefully, there's still the noise of an impatient crowd, the sound of a shield falling, the roar of a lion. The Colosseum is not ancient. It is eternal.